You are listening to the Daily Homily for Magdala in the Holy Land.
Jesus took Peter, James, and his brother John and led them up a high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. And his clothes became dazzling white, such as no fuller on earth could bleach them. Then Elijah appeared to them along with Moses, and they were conversing with Jesus. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, "Rabbi, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He hardly knew what to say. They were so terrified. Then a cloud came, casting a shadow over them. From the cloud came a voice, "This is my beloved Son, listen to him." Suddenly, looking around, they saw no longer anyone but Jesus alone with them. As they were coming down from the mountain, he charged them not to relate what they had seen to anyone, except when the Son of Man had risen from the dead. So they kept the matter to themselves, questioning what rising from the dead meant. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
We have a marvelous ability to feel at home in places that we're familiar with, in our own homes, our own farms, our own streets, our own towns. We know the people, we know the places, we know how life is managed. We're in relatively viable, good health, and we're feeling great, and the sun is shining or it's raining, whatever, and we know what's going on. But actually, Peter was terrified on the mountain. So that's kind of the opposite to being sure and certain where we are. And the reason he was terrified is he realized very quickly that what we're all sure about is actually not much more solid than a cobweb. What a spider makes, that beautiful thing, but it's so fragile, so ephemeral, so not much more than a shadow on the wall of the sun shining here on the wall. And it will move quickly. And at some point, things fail. There's an earthquake or a tsunami, or there's a scare, there's a virus, there's a health problem interiorly, there's a moral issue and our reputation is ruined, there's an economic issue and all the income is gone. It's so easy to go downhill. And even that misery in which we fall is also not the last thing. It's not a prison. It's just a place where we are for a moment. And that's one of the great teachings we can let enrich our lives and illuminate our lives. This is a luminous mystery, the mystery of Jesus on Mount Tabor, with Elijah and Moses, with the scriptures. And we have the scriptures with us. We read them. We just read from the prophet Daniel. Elijah stands for all the prophets. Peter is calling back, this whole mountain experience that echoes Mount Sinai, and there he is with Jesus at Mount Tabor, the majestic glory. Hearing the voice, God spoke to Moses. God spoke now through Jesus. God spoke to Jesus, or to the disciples on behalf of Jesus. Listen to him. And they were dazzled by Jesus. Sometimes we're dazzled by people, but they're human dazzle. It's very fragile. It's very fleeting. There's wonderful poetry about that, like Ozymandias, the great statue that's fallen in the desert. The sands have covered it. And Shelley put that together so wonderfully. The glory fades so quickly, but this glory that God gives is forever. And we're called to this glory. Jesus didn't put on a show just to impress us, to display his Godhead. Yes, because the disciples were on the way to Calvary for They were still learning. They were somewhere between a carpenter from Nazareth, the kind of a rabbi migrant going around from synagogue to synagogue, some great teaching, but they hadn't discovered his divinity fully. And now they're having an experience. And they're realizing that human nature can carry the fullness of the divinity. We should have known that because we're made in the image and likeness of God. The whole divinity resonates in us. It causes us to be. But we've got scales on our eyes. Our ears don't hear well. Our sensitivity is very opaque. And the Transfiguration loosens that up, shakes that up, and they're getting a glimpse of glory for a moment. But that's our destiny. That's what we're called to be. We're called to share in this glory. God will give us his glory with the saints in glory forever. And that will be solid, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. It won't even prevail against it here, but it's a path of faith and a path of hope and a path of suffering, a path of Calvary, a path of witness against powerful forces that want to crush us. The Transfiguration is a glimpse that strengthens us to keep going forward with Christ, to consummate the witness to truth, to goodness, that God is love, that each human life is worth infinite love from God. And we have that expressed also to the point of the Eucharist. Imagine we are not just in the image and likeness of God, but we are united to Christ. We are one with him through baptism, through the sacraments. If we have some problems in our decisions and we've had some fault, we go to reconciliation. We can be completely renewed. We can become radiant with grace. Even if our skin has skin issues and we have to go to the doctor, if we're feeling miserable, our blood pressure is down, our sense of balance is lost, we have to hold on to something to stay standing. We are destined for eternal glory. And Jesus is revealing that today at Mount Tabor. And that's what we're celebrating. And that's where the saints are. That's where Our Lady is. And the angels before God see his glory and participate in it. The heavens proclaim his justice, and all people see his glory.
Thank you for joining us today. If you want to learn more about Magdala, follow us on YouTube and on Facebook.